Hi, my name is Dominic Clay. I'm a professional hypnotherapist, and I would like to ask you today to give me a moment of your time so I can explain to you what exactly is hypnosis, how does it really work, and most importantly, why do you need it? In this video, I will present hypnosis from the backstage. I will explain, for example, how our mind works and also how we can introduce some changes into it. I will also do something what I probably shouldn't be doing, which is that I'm going to reveal the hidden truth behind the hypnosis and also the secrets that a lot of experts in the field would like to keep as a secret. And I'm going to do it because I want to give to you today the most honest, the most truthful, and the most practical knowledge about this topic. Because nowadays, the source of our knowledge about hypnosis is taken from series, like Hollywood movies, or hypnotic shows, during which some kind of crazy hypnotizer comes up on the stage and in some kind of unexplained magical way takes control over people's mind like a zombies, and those people are just obediently following his commands, doing some unbelievable, amazing stuff without having control over their minds, of their body, or their bodies whatsoever. As I pointed out on the beginning, I want to break this spell. I want to remove this magic from the hypnosis and show you the truth. And the truth is that I want to point it out and say it out loud on the beginning. It is a load of lies that any hypnotizer, hypnotherapist can somehow take control over your mind and force you to do something against your will. It is also important to realize that every story, every myth has a little seed of truth. And in this case, the seed of truth is that during the hypnosis, while being in this state, you can really do those amazing, unbelievable stuff. Like, for example, thanks to hypnosis, while being in this state, you can instantly get rid of your fears, of the traumas that has been haunting you for years. You can get rid of your nasty habits, your destroying your life addictions, and you can replace them even with new, healthy ones. Finally, you can get rid of the pain. You can make yourself totally insensitive to pain. And now, with my eyes of imagination, I can already see some of you guys at the second edge of the screen looking at me like this. Yeah, right. You can make yourself insensitive to pain with hypnosis. Exactly, you can do that. And for those of you who remain skeptical, I recommend to stop this video in the moment and search for one particular phrase. James Esdale. This guy was a British surgeon living in the 19th century who has been operating his patients on the Calcutta. During his work, during his operations that he has been performing on his patients, he has been using hypnosis in order to make his patients insensitive to pain during those hard, invasive surgical operations. This guy showed that in order to make yourself insensitive to pain, you don't need to use drugs, you don't need to use anesthetics. You can only rely on your resources of your brain, okay? Those events had place in the 19th century. Today, we have 21st century. And the progress that hypnosis made from this time is amazing. And now we have access to a lot of new tools which you can use today in order to improve your life. So if you are curious about how you can experience such phenomena and how you can transform your life with hypnosis, stay with me and watch this presentation till the end. All right, in order to end this already long introduction, I want to point out one more thing here, because during this presentation I'm going to use a lot of simplifications, generalizations, and I'm not going to cover some topics here, as because my job here is not to give you a lecture and to explain every detail about the hypnosis. My job here is to give you the necessary knowledge about the hypnosis in the nutshell, the knowledge that you need to experience such phenomena and to get rid of your problems. So, in order to not waste more time, I have divided this presentation into 4 parts. In the first part, I will explain how our mind works quite briefly, as because it is important to explain some things at the beginning, some terms and some mechanisms in our minds in order to understand how hypnosis works. In the second part, I will explain how we are making changes in our lives, either when we are doing it by ourselves or with some kind of help, like for example, with help of psychotherapists. Finally, in the third part, basing on this knowledge, I will explain how hypnosis works and, most importantly, why is it not only much faster but much more efficient way of dealing with your problems and introducing changes. In the last part, for the dessert, I have left the explanation regarding all sorts of myths, bigger and smaller lies about the hypnosis, and in this part I will reveal this promised hidden truth behind hypnosis. So let's get into it. Firstly, I will erase this phrase already, and let's imagine on the beginning that this circle is our mind, which, as we commonly know, is divided to consciousness and subconsciousness. Firstly, what is our consciousness? That's because I like to explain some complicated topics with simple metaphors. I like to compare our consciousness with our eyes. As because with our eyes we are experiencing and perceiving the world around us in some simplified, superficial manner. Why superficial? As because if I raise my arm and look at my hand, then I can see my hand. But if I take this pen, place it behind my hand, then I cannot see this pen. Only when I change the perspective a bit, then I might be able to see it. Okay? So, in the similar way, our consciousness works, because through our consciousness, we don't have the full and, most importantly, easy access to full potential, full resources of our mind. It has its limitations. Okay? However, this is the part of our mind that we control. We control the flow of our thoughts that we have in our consciousness. Again, I'm simplifying things here. One more important thing regarding the consciousness is that consciousness is kind of designed to help us, is kind of designed this way to help us to deal with the troubles of the day-to-day life. So, for example, when we want to discover how to get from point A to point B, those kind of problems we are solving consciously, right? We are deciding which road to take. Our subconsciousness is something that I compare to a huge warehouse where there are stored all of your memories, your habits, your emotions. All of that what we are, right? All of those things that consist and make us who we are. So that's why we are having some problems in accessing what's inside our subconsciousness fully, because, well, firstly, it's super big. Secondly, we don't know how to navigate through that. We are like a little children who lost his or her package somewhere out there. And we have no idea in which alley, on which shelf, in which box it might be. So it's kind of hard to get something from our subconsciousness willingly, okay? All right, both our consciousness and subconsciousness have different sorts of functions. Obviously, we are not going to go through all of those functions, but we are going to focus on those most important ones from the hypnotherapy perspective. And the first function of our consciousness that is going to be important here is our analytical function. What is our analytical function? Basically, it helps us to deal with some problems, right? As I've already mentioned, problem with taking the right road. It helps us when we are facing the problem to firstly see this problem, like recognize that it exists, name it somehow, frame it in some way, come up with some kind of solution and implement this solution to solve this problem. So another example might be that, for example, making a shopping list, right? Or solving some complicated mathematical equation. And you can realize that while we are doing those things, like looking for choosing particular road or a shopping list, we are controlling this thought process that we have in our mind, right? So that is kind of the definition here of this consciousness, conscious thinking. Other faculty of our analytical function is that this is the function through which we are learning some things, because when we are facing, for example, some complicated procedure to learn, then we can divide it to the smaller parts. We can divide it to the steps, so it becomes easier for us to learn some things. All right, second function, which is going to be important here, and where we are going to stick for a bit longer time, is our willpower. What is our willpower? As name suggests, it's some kind of power, right? It's the power that we have within us to make some changes, to force ourselves to do something, right? But there comes one particular fundamental question. Why is it the case that you need to force yourself to do something? Why is it the case that you actually need this willpower? Because when you know that you need to do something, when you want to do something, when you know that what you need to do is good for you and you need that, why is it so hard to do it? Why you have to face this internal battle and use this power to break this resistance inside you? I will answer for that question a little bit later. However, the other faculty of our willpower is that it has this proclivity to drop down radically. So I guess this is something what we all know, right? Because you can remind yourself the last time when you wanted to introduce some changes in your life, like for example develop new habit or get rid of the other one. Like for example, you wanted to start learning, right, for the important exam that you had on in your school or the university, and you can imagine, you can remind yourself for how long it lasted. For weeks, for days, for hours. On the beginning you were highly motivated, right? You were like, yeah, okay, I will sit there, I will learn this, I know I need it, but you know, couple hours later, or even faster, it dropped. It was hard to stay focused. It was hard to commit yourself to it, yeah? Same with quitting some habit. Like, for example, if you wanted to quit smoking, right? On the beginning, it was all right, but later on, struggle began. And this is important to understand it because this is the kind of mechanism that is being used and exploited by a lot of motivational speakers, a lot of coaches, influencers, you name them. Why? Because all what those people have to offer, and again, I am using generalization here, right? I don't want to put everyone in the same basket, but for a lot of them, only thing that they have to offer to you is to increase this willpower, right? To keep it at the higher level. And that's all. So that's why they are giving those wisdoms, words of wisdoms, some kind of motivational speeches, right? Like, you can do it. Show them that you can. Only successful people don't make excuses, right? You have world at your hand. Sky is the limit. Awaken your inner tiger. Those kind of speeches have this purpose to keep your willpower, your motivation on the high level. But this motivation is going to drop again. So once it happens that it's going to drop, once it dropped, you're going to need more. You're going to need more inspiring words. You're going to need more motivation. You're going to need more materials from those people, and some of those materials are going to have their price, right? So in this way, a lot of those people are building their brand, and they are basically exploiting you, okay? So why am I talking about it? Because from our perspective, from hypnotherapy perspective, we don't want to use willpower, because from our perspective it is totally ineffective mean to your goal, okay? From our perspective, what we want to achieve is not some kind of cheap motivational talks that are going to increase your willpower for a moment just to watch it drop. We want to make permanent changes in your mind, okay? So when you are going to wish to get rid of some habit, you are going to get rid of this habit and not get back to it again. That is our purpose here. Not that you can make yourself capable of forcing yourself more to do some things. Because actually, I would argue that, like, is it really a healthy way to deal with your problems, to make changes in your life by making yourself capable to force yourself more, right? To do some things, to get dragged into more and more internal conflicts inside you, and to crushing those, crushing your needs, your other needs that might be in your way? Well, I would be arguing that, right? So anyway, we don't want to use it. That is important here. All right, let's jump to our subconsciousness. Although our consciousness is operating on facts, on logic, on informations, data, right? Because what we are analyzing raw data, right? Our subconsciousness, on the other hand, is operating on emotions. And here, regarding emotions, we need to explain three important things. First one, there is no such thing as a good or bad emotions. There might be emotions which might be not pleasant to experience or pleasant, right? But none of them is either good or bad. Why? Because emotions are actually just an information. It is like with the pain, because if you think about it for a moment, why is it that you are feeling physical pain? It is to give you some kind of vital information. Like, for example, if you have a toothache, then you're not feeling that just because your body wants to make your life miserable, right? But your body is giving you a signal that there is some kind of problem, something what requires your attention, what you need to deal with, what you need to address, right? In order to not make this problem spread, okay? So perhaps it might be a good idea in such example to visit a dentist and to fix this problem. And some of you could experience that phenomena when, while you've experienced some pain, like your stomach hurts, your arm hurts, you got headache, whatever, and you have reached to the specialist, to the doctor, whoever, in order to get rid of this problem, and while you are waiting in the queue, then somehow, in some magical way, this pain has just disappeared. And that is because the job of this pain has been done. It informed you that there is something wrong and you have taken care of it. So there is no further need to inform you about this problem. Okay? So that is the mechanism here. Second thing, and one more thing, because those emotions are just an information, it is important to understand that you cannot judge them, because you cannot judge information. If I would tell you, give you the information that there is 22 degrees, then what does it mean? It means nothing. It means nothing without the interpretation. It means nothing without the conclusion, because 22 degrees in middle of Africa might mean that it's being quite cold, while somewhere at the Iceland, for example, it might be pretty warm. Okay? So you cannot, same way that you cannot just judge your those 22 Celsius degrees, you cannot judge your emotions, because they are bringing to the table the important information that they have for you, okay? And actually, this, what I'm talking about right now, is not some kind of my interpretation of, psychology, or some kind of my own theory. Those are actually the basics of the biochemistry, as because we are having a lot of different hormones in our body, which are basically designed to either reward us for some particular activities or to prepare us for some danger, okay, for example. So basically, those emotions have function to promote some activities and to, again, prepare you for some potential problems. So, for example, hormone like oxytocin, again, simplifying, it is designed to give you a positive emotions whenever you are connecting to people, when you are socializing, and when you are feeling this positive safety regarding belonging to the group and such and such. Dopamine is another hormone which is pushing you and rewarding you for achieving goals, right? Again, simplifying. There is also like the cortisol, for example, which is called quite literally the stress hormone. And the job of this hormone is to prepare you for some kind of danger. Like when, for example, you are being called by your boss to get into his office without any reason, right? Then you might feel a lot of negative emotions, you might feel stress, you might feel like your heartbeat is rising and such and such and such. It's because this cortisol is rising, and although too much of the cortisol is harmful very harmful to our bodies. It is a natural mechanism that its job is to prepare you for some kind of danger, so you can get out of this situation, right? So you can some kind of overcome it, okay? So again, those emotions, and this is the second thing I wanted to share about emotions, those emotions have its purpose, they have its source. Sometimes we might feel like there is no logic behind those emotions and they're just popping out of nowhere, but trust me, there is always some reason why this emotion is there. Whenever you are feeling some kind of intense emotions, doesn't matter if it's joy or some kind of frustration, burst of anger and such, it has its reason. It is rooted somewhere in your past and in the way how were you treated in your past, taken from your upbringing and such and such and such. So this is important to understand this, because during the hypnotherapy, what we are going to do is that we're going to work with those emotions, as you can call them a bit like the language of your subconsciousness, right? The logic, data, kinda language of our consciousness. Emotions are kinda language of our subconsciousness. So we are going to use this language to get to your emotions and to understand what information is hiding behind it, and we're going to get to its source, because then we will get to source of the problem and we can deal with this problem. And once we get rid of the source of this problem, the problem disappears. All right? Third thing regarding emotions, which is also super important, is that you cannot control emotions. And therefore, emotions are kind of unpredictable, right? We can suppress our emotions to some degree using our willpower. However, you cannot just make it happen that you're going to be either happy or sad, right? And you can also remind yourself this situation where either you or other person around you had been experiencing some kind of super intense emotions, right? Like broke down and cry, or got this furious anger that has been somehow triggered inside them. And you can remind yourself how pointless it was to try to calm them down with a reason. Like, oh, there is nothing to be upset about. You are, escalating it too much. You know you can deal with this situation. You know that there is nothing to be upset about, and such and such and such. You can remind yourself how inefficient that was. It's because you tried to talk reason with a wrong language to someone who is experiencing intense emotions. Okay? So this is also important, because we don't want to control our emotions. We want to let them flow. We don't want to judge them. Okay? We don't want to argue with them that I shouldn't be feeling that way. Oh, it's stupid to feel this way, or it cannot be right that I feel this way, and such and such and such. I'm too strong to feel like sad because someone has hurt me in the past or whatever. No, you have right to feel what you are feeling. This is the natural mechanism of your mind and your body, and there is a big difference between following your emotions and just experiencing them, okay? Because just because you are experiencing some emotions, it doesn't mean that you need to go this road, right? You need to fall for them and such and such and such. All right. Second function of our subconsciousness, with which we are working a lot in hypnosis, are our habits. And what is the role of our habits? Firstly, it is to automate some activities, some oftenly occurring activities that we are performing in our lives, right? But this is not the full explanation, because what is important here as well is that there need to be a context. Why? Because probably every one of us have this habit of tying up our shoes, right? So whenever we want to tie up our shoe to leave the house or wherever, we are just bending over, and somehow those hands are moving on themselves, tying this shoe up. But it is important to understand that, to notice that it is the case only with our shoes, because whenever you see any kind of other string, right, like string for a laundry, let's say, or your USB cable with which you are charging your phone, you're not having a thought in your head that, oh, I would like to tie it up in the same way as I am tying my shoe, right? It is because there is a different context. And why am I talking about it? It is because it means that those habits are de facto the answer to some problem which is occurring, okay? And in the same way that the answer to the problem called my shoe is untied, or I want to leave the home as fast as possible, so I need to make it automized so it will be faster. In the same way, the answer for stress for some people is to drink an alcohol or smoke cigarettes, okay? Because it is also a solution to the problem. We can argue whether it's a good solution, but for them, it is a solution. Running away from the problem is also a solution, okay? All right, so having that all explained, more or less, I didn't mention one more function, which is super important here from the perspective of the hypnotherapy, which is, let's say again, simplifying, kinda on the border between this consciousness and subconsciousness, which is our critical function. And what is that? In order to explain it, I will need to make a side topic here and jump to some other model, as because firstly we need to realize one particular thing, that what if I told you that you are not only the one person, that you are not only the unity, that you don't have the full control of yourself, that you, your mind, is consisting of many parts, of many personalities. And now, again, I can see with my eyes of imagination reaction of some people on the other edge of the screen looking at me like that. Right. Personalities, multiple personalities. Okay, I think our hypnotizer has broke down, yeah? Stay with me for a moment. As because here lays the answer to the question that I have risen regarding our willpower, which is, why do you have to force yourself to do something? Why do you have to have those internal fights, okay? So again, let me jump to the another drawing, another example. So from this critical function, let's imagine again that this circle is our mind, right? Simple. And as I said, our mind is consisting many different parts of ourselves. The parts that have its particular needs and particular interests, let's call it that way. Also, those parts perceive what is good for us in a different way. That is why I like to portray my own personalities as some sort of the parliament, in which there are placed a lot of politicians sitting there debating on the different stuff and such and such and such. And the thing about those politicians is that each of them have different personality, different views, different interests, and each of them perceives what is good for the community, right, for the whole nation, for whole me, in a different way. Okay? So let's picture that. Let's make some examples here. Let's imagine that those parts are representing those parts of us. Okay, let's leave it at 5. And as an example, each of us have a different number of those parts. Those parts are being different, and all of that, we are not going into it. But we also have a lot of parts which are more or less common for each of us, right? So for example, most of us, if not all, have this part in us which likes, let's call it, self-development. And this part is going to feed us with positive emotions and is going to promote all the activities that that are pushing our self-development forward. So for example, when we are learning some things, right? We like to get knowledge, to have this knowledge. We like to explore the world. We like to travel. We like to experience different things, right? So this is the part of us which is going to push us to make those kind of activities. The other part that we might have, and most of us has it, is a achiever part, which is the kind of our personality, again, which is going to push us to achieve some things, because we like to achieve things. We like to, you can actually imagine yourself, like remind yourself when you were graduating school or the university, when you got a new job, the first car or wherever. We feel good about such stuff, right? We like to get more money, for example. We like to get raises. We like to get likes in the social medias and such and such and such, because in this way we are achieving something. And this personality is going to push us to achieve more and more. Another part which I am certain that every one of us has, let's picture it as a smiley face. It is a part of us which basically likes entertainments, likes pleasures. So this is the part of you that is going to push you to lay on the couch, watch some series, eat cookies, and just relax, or wherever you like to do in your free time. Okay? Next part of us, which I am sure that at least most of us has, is the part that cares about our image, because we like to present ourselves well, right? We like to have a great posture. We like to look good. We like to wear good-looking things. We like to speak well, right? Because we want not only the attention that comes with it, but also we want approval from other people. We want to belong to some groups. We want to be appreciated for stuff what we are doing, right? It is a natural mechanism that we have. So this part is going to push us to activities that are going to improve our image. From the Jungian psychoanalysis perspective, it is our persona, right? So this is this mask that we are presenting to other people, okay? And last but not least, since we are talking about the psychoanalysis, let's call this last part as C, as our inner child. This is some kind of concept that we know from the psychologically, it is widely known there, that it basically says something like this, that each of us were a children, right? Even if we are grown adults now, we still have this child, this inner child inside us. Because when we were children, we have a lot of dreams, fantasies, desires, and such and such and such. Those kinda unbound, naive ones. And we are still having those needs. Okay, even if we are adults, we learned during our socialization and our as we were growing up to kind of suppress it a bit, but it is still there. Okay, so this part is going to push us to fulfill those childish desires that we had. That is why there is a joke that goes like this, that men particularly are growing up only to the 7 years of age, and after that they are only keep getting bigger. It is because which guy does not like remotely controlled cars or some kind of drones and other gadgets? We love such things, right? Again, generalizing, but that is more or less the point. We have those childish, right? Childlike needs inside us that still demands our attention and still wants to be fulfilled. Let's call it that way. All right. So having those parts, those are the parts, as I mentioned, which we are more or less aware that we have them, right? We know that we like pleasures, we know that we like to present ourselves well, and such and such and such. But there are also a lot of the parts inside us which we are not aware of, okay? So let's paint them out here, like another parts that we are not aware of. And among those parts, most oftenly, inside those parts, there are also our traumas. Let's write them here like T1, T2, T3. And those traumas are most likely occurring here, in this part that we are not aware of. Firstly, what is the trauma? Because when we are talking about the traumas, we are mostly thinking about some kind of big dramatic events, right? Like a close encounter with death, losing someone who is close to us, experiencing the terrible events, the terrible reality of the warfare, and such and such and such. But in fact, one of the definitions of the traumas is that trauma is nothing more than some negative, unpleasant event in the past that has impact on our lives today, making our life today difficult, okay? So that is the definition. So in order to give an example, because I guess it will be easier to understand how easily we can get some traumas. Let's picture a little Lily. Little Lily liked to draw, and she was drawing the painting out after painting and such and such and such. She really loved to paint, and she was getting better and better in it. Every time when she was finishing her drawing, she came up to her mother, presenting her new piece of art, saying, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, look how great drawing I've made." And the mommy was always appreciating, encouraging little Lily, pat pat on the head, "You did a good job." But one day, when little Lily has drawn his best masterpiece, like the best drawing she could ever make, she was so thrilled that she couldn't wait, and she wanted to show it to her parents again. Her mother wasn't at home at this time, but there was at home her father. Unfortunately, her father was at the moment super busy because he was working remotely from home and was sitting on the important business meeting. And while he were in this meeting, being super stressed out about the things that are going on there, Then a little Lily rushes into the room, screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, 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 look how great and cool drawing I have made. I have pictured you, Mommy, our house, our puppy. It's so cute. Daddy, look, 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 look." Okay? And at some point, because her father was ignoring her, Lily, in her enthusiasm, put her picture between eyes of her father and his laptop. And that, for him, was too much, because he couldn't allow himself at that moment to be distracted. So he grabbed this picture by his hand and screamed to Lily, "Get that shit out of here and get out." Okay? This might be the one particular event. This father could be the best father in the world, but that exception could happen to anyone. Okay? And I guess that most of us at some point have experienced some kind of similar situation when we wanted some kind of approval from environment, from our family or whoever we care about, and even when we had our best intentions, instead of getting rewarded, we have been punished for it, right? Because what signal her father has sent to little Lily? Little Lily has made her best masterpiece, and after she done her greatest masterpiece, she weren't praised for it like her mother did it, but instead she got punished because she wanted to do something good for her father. She wanted to spread her joy. She wanted to make him happy and also make herself happy. But it's not only that it didn't happen, but her father have literally called their best drawing as shit. Okay? So, because of those events, the mind of the Lily have developed the defense mechanism, which sounds like this. Whenever you are going to finish your great painting, you are not going to be appreciated for it, but you're going to be punished instead. So, because of that mechanism, because of that part in Lily's mind, from now on, she was struggling to finish any of the drawing, any next drawing that she was painting. Because of that, she didn't apply for a artistic university. She didn't try to be a graphic designer or some sort of this person, because she still had that unexplained fear inside her that whenever she's going to finish up some new piece of her art, that is not going to turn out well for her. Okay? And because of that, instead of following her dreams, instead of becoming an artist, perhaps the great artist, she have ended up studying boring finances, working in some kind of corporation in insignificant position for the rest of her life, regretting at the end that she didn't follow her dreams. Okay? So I'm telling you the story in order to understand that even some kind of such insignificant traumas, as we can think of it, right? It's insignificant, might have a great impact on our life and our future, okay? So those cannot be neglected. And also, like, not only that we need to be careful with our words when we address children, right? But we also need to understand that every one of us have those kind of traumas and that those have influence on our life, okay? All right, knowing that, explaining those traumas, let's get back to our community of ourselves. And let's consider another example. Because now we are going to the part 2, which is called the system of changes. So how are we performing changes in our lives, either when we are going to do it by ourselves or with some help. So firstly, let's figure out how it goes when you try to do it on ourselves and what happens. Let's imagine Mr. John. Mr. John would like to start to go to the gym, would like to start to work out, okay? Because not only it is fashionable now to be working out and to look good, but also because he wants to be healthy, he wants to develop himself, he wants to look good to other people and present himself well. So when Mr. John has such idea, let's draw it as idea. Yeah, right. Speaking about shitty drawings, right? Okay, this is the lightning bulb. Okay, it's not getting much better. Okay, let's imagine that this is a lightning bulb, okay, as an idea. All right. So once Mr. John has such idea to start working out, doing that regularly and such, to develop such habit in his life, then what actually happens is that this idea needs to be consulted with all of those parts of him. And here we got a problem, okay? So let's go through this example one by one. Firstly, the part of Mr. John that likes self-development. What this part could possibly say? John, you want to start to go to the gym? You want to start working out? Great idea. I love it. Do you remember all of those guys, those influencers that you are following, which are going on the gym? You might be looking just like them and you might achieve such things as them. So, you know, just go for it. Awaken your inner tiger, wherever. Just go there. Self-development, 2 thumbs up. Okay? So this part is definitely going to agree for this idea and is going to reward this idea. Second part, achiever. Here actually it's not quite clear, because on the one hand, for some people it might be a positive achievement that we might be running more and more on the treadmill, pushing new limits, or adding additional weights to push. But for some people, it might be discouraging that, you know, being on the gym does not give you an instant result, right? You need to be working out for something like a month in order to see the first results of your hard work. So it might be discouraging that although you have put a lot of effort into it, you don't see the instant results. So here is like depending on the person, that part might like it, might not like it, might be neutral, wherever, okay? Next part, the part of us which likes pleasure. What this part could possibly say? Well, in case of Mr. John, that part just said, John, you want to start going on the gym? Today? Look, you still have 2 episodes of this series to watch. Why don't you just lay on your couch and just finish it? You might go to the gym next time. You know, because it's unpleasant and such. Like seriously, you're going to struggle so much, and for what, right? Here you have more important things to do. You have more cooler things to do, yeah? More pleasant things to do. So, because, you know, it's hard to be surprised that this part is making excuses, right? Because this part is being totally opposite to this idea. Because look what you have to do in order to get to the gym, right? Like what Mr. John would have to do. He would need to firstly get up from chair or the bed, even worse. He would need to pack things up. He would need, in the next step, to leave his warm apartment, which while on the outside there might be raining, there might be cold, there might be snowing, wherever, and in the next step he would need to get to this gym, so he would waste his time and energy. And finally, once he gets to this gym, he would need to not only work hard, but also make a series of unpleasant, sometimes even hurtful exercises, right? So it's like this guy is going to say that, it's not worth it. Let's just stay home, watch series, eat chips, wherever, just relax. And gives us additionally some kind of excuses, right? You are working 8 hours daily in your work, so you have done already for today. You can just relax, yeah? Next part of Mr. John, which cares about his image, is going to say, hell yeah! Look, John, if you're going to go on the gym, you're going to look like $1 million, right? If you're going to grow those chest muscles and those arm muscles and such, when you are going to walk the street, all the ladies around you are going to be yours. All people are going to compliment your great posture and are going to appreciate the work you have put into it. So definitely, John, go for it. Yeah? So this part is going to agree as well. And last but not least, inner child. And here you can think about yourself when you were a little kid and whether you had such ideas as going to the gym or not, whether that seemed to be attractive for you or not. Probably it wasn't, because you had other, more interesting things to do, like discovering the world or conquering it, playing with your friends, and how this idea of responsibilities, right, wasn't something that we liked when we were children. So this part, when it's going to hear that you need to force yourself, that Mr. John is going to need to force himself to go out there on the cold to train, this inner child is going to be like, no! Okay? It will start screaming, it will start kicking, it will make any kind of excuse to not let you go there. Because look how many other important things and cool things you can do in this time, right? So definitely not. So basically we are in trouble here. Like, we already have an internal fight. And I guess that this is the fight that a lot of us had not once but multiple times, right? Whenever, for all those people who either were working out or trying to force themselves to do it, we all heard those voices in one or different combination, but it doesn't end here, because, as I said, those are only the examples, and we have multiple of those parts, and also we have those parts which we are not aware of, in where there are located our traumas. So in case of Mr. John, he had also been traumatized by some events regarding the gym, and the first trauma that he have experienced were when the John has came to the gym for the first time. Because when he have found himself in this place, he was super highly motivated to start training. But because of his enthusiasm, he have, well, how to put this? He thought he can weight heavier lifts than in reality. So he was laying on the workbench, and when he have pushed those weights, those has dropped on his chest, took out his breath, hurt his chest, and well, John didn't know what to do in this situation. He was basically helpless. In this scenario, he felt like he might get seriously injured in this event. So, because of this event, this part is going to remind him that going to the gym is not a bad idea. It's not a good idea. Okay? The second trauma that John has experienced regarding the gym was that once upon a time he was with his friends from the school at the gym because it was fashionable in that moment to go for a gym. So a lot of his friends were constantly working out. So in order to be the part of this group, he also went with them to the gym and started to working out with them. But during one of the sets, as he had his weights on his shoulders, pushing them upwards, he realized that his pants were too loose, and during some repetition, his pants has dropped down to his ankles. And poor John stood there in front of his friends, being unable to do anything with his pants dropped down and the weights on his shoulder, couldn't get anything about it. He has been mocked by his friends because of those events for a long time. Because, well, he ended up in front of them with, like, being only in his underwear, wearing his underwear. And what's worse, not only his male friends were there, but also female friends. So basically, the whole classroom had been making fun of him because of that. All right, and so what happens again when Mr. John wants to start going to the gym? As we said, those parts are going to say what they said, but traumas are also having their say here. And this is a very important part here, because the trauma number one is going to say to the John something like that. John, you want to start going to the gym? You want to start working out? Seriously? Don't you remember what have happened when you were for the first time at the gym, when those weights dropped on your chest, causing you an injury? And those events have happened over a decade ago. Now you are over 30, so you don't regenerate as fast as when you were younger. So what if the next time when you go to the gym, you will injure yourself even more? And now you not only have a job and responsibilities, but you also have a family. So you cannot afford to injure yourself. You cannot afford to, like, break your arm or your leg, right? And knowing you, such things can happen. So John, don't go to the gym. Second trauma will say, John, you want to start going to the gym? You want to start working out? Seriously? Don't you remember what have happened that day when you made a fool out of yourself in front of your classmates? And what if next time when you go to the gym, you will make yourself look as a fool again, but They are not going to be your classmates, but your co-workers out there, and you will lose respect in their eyes. You will lose your position, okay? So now this trauma will say some very important words. I don't want you to go to this gym because I want to spare you the misery that comes along with it. I don't want you to experience the same suffering that you have suffered, that you have experienced in the past. I want to protect you from these harmful events. So, John, don't go to the gym because I don't want you to be hurt again. Okay? As I said before, all of those parts are caring about us. They want what is good for us. So even if sometimes those parts are doing it in some twisted way, as we might think of it, still they care about us. And literature of psychology is super rich on this topic, because it is the case that if you address your trauma, like you make sure that you have drawn a lesson from it, and you made sure that such traumatic events won't happen again to you, then this trauma stops haunting you. So in this case, if John would be aware of this trauma, number one, when those weights have dropped on his chest, he could, for example, go to the gym and hire a private fitness trainee. So in this case, he would not only make sure that he is exercising correctly, but he would also have someone to look out for him, right? So he wouldn't have a need to feel those negative emotions, unpleasant emotions again, okay? All right, so I guess this is also a good knowledge to all of those people who are feeling lost with themselves, and who are feeling that, you know, no one is accepting them in the world, no one is loving them, and they hate themselves because they are thinking that they are useless, and that, well, that even themselves are sabotaging their own life. It is not like that those inner parts of you are sabotaging you. It is not like those parts want to hurt you. It is like that those parts are loving you, okay? And they express the care of you. So if you're lacking of allies in your life, you might be sure that here you can find ones. Although, again, the prescription on how to make you happy for all of them is quite different. All right, so having that explained, what Mr. John can do in such situation, how he can perform those changes so he can start going to this gym, start working out. Well, first thing which he can do in such internal conflict is to use his willpower. Force himself, motivate, right, to go there. But, as we know from our experience, that won't suffice. Yeah? At least not for a long run, at least not for everyone. Okay, and what are the other ways? The other way is that Mr. John could go for help to either psychotherapist or use some coaching materials, right? But before we got there, let's firstly get back to this critical function and explain what it does. Because the job of this critical function is simple. It either accepts the suggestion that reaches our mind or it rejects it. So in this case, critical function, knowing what is going on out here, when critical function, let's picture Mr. John here again, when critical function receives such suggestion about such idea of going to the gym and working out, critical function is going to be aware of all of those conflicts. So that is why this critical function is not going to let this suggestion pass. Because there is so much work to do and there is so many unpleasant emotions are going to be released with that, then for this critical function it's not going to be worth it, because our critical function is this kind of mechanism that cares about maintaining our balance in life, okay? So, and it is a one prescription to maintain balance in our life by, well, basically doing nothing, right? That's why we don't like changes, because whenever we want to make some changes, we will always encounter some resistance in those parts of us, okay? In fact, in order to picture it maybe in more simple and better way, again, I have opportunity to draw something and release my artistic skills. Okay, so let's imagine that here we have the table, computer, the keyboard. All right. Okay, let's imagine that this is some kind of programmer, some kind of system administrator, some kind of this person. Let's call it IT guy, yeah? So we in our community, in our system, are the boss, right? Mr. John is a boss. So Mr. John comes to this programmer who has access to all this system and knows how to, knows how to operate it. Mr. John comes to him and says, I want to start working out. And that critical function will, well, after receiving that, it will say, yeah, okay, sure, I will check. What can I do? And it starts clicking in the system, starts checking what's going on, and he says this, like this whole mess in Mr. John's head. And once he sees that, he's going to do something like this. Because he didn't realize how much work it's going to cost and how much problematic it's going to be. Because there is so many issues to address here that, it would be better if this guy wouldn't need to do anything. So when Mr. John is going to use willpower, it is something like he would stay behind this poor IT guy and starting to shout on him. You need to do this! Yeah? And, well, I guess that all of us who know how it's like when someone comes to you with some idea that you think is totally stupid, that it's not going to work, there are better ideas, but you are required to do it anyway. So, are we putting best effort to actually do our job here? Probably not, right? We are trying to do it as, well, just to get rid of the pain from the neck, right? So, and this kind of solution is not going to last. So, what is happening when Mr. John, in such case, instead of doing it on his own is supporting himself with some kind of coaching materials. So let's picture here some kind of motivational speaker, and let's give him a serious look, like shouting. So this motivational speaker, once Mr. John is using his help, his materials, is going to look more or less like this, that it's not only the John who is screaming at this poor IT guy, but now it is two of them, okay? Screaming at him, with a difference that this motivational speaker tries to inspire this programmer. So show us that you can do it, yeah? You are the best programmer in the world. Awaken your inner Elon Musk or whoever, right? Some kind of genius who can program anything, yeah? But, you know, just because you say such things to him, it's not going to it's not going to succeed, yeah? It doesn't mean to succeed. So let's forget about this idea, as I already pointed out, that it's totally inefficient here and we don't want to use it. And instead, let's focus on the case with the psychotherapy, because I guess that's going to be more interesting one. So here we have the psychotherapist, this time smiley one, psychotherapist, yeah. Okay. And how does it look when we want to make some changes with help of psychotherapist? Firstly, it looks more or less in the way that Mr. John, when he wants to start going, he's going to visit psychotherapist because he has this problem that he's unable of mobilizing himself to do some stuff, including going to gym, right? So first question which psychotherapist is likely to ask is, why are you here? What brings you here? So this is what he's going to say. And later on, she's going to ask, why do you think it might be the case? And here starts the first problem, actually, because Mr. John is going to tell her what he thinks might be the problem, the source of the problem, right? Because for Mr. John, it might be simply the case that he don't want to, because that's unpleasant, yeah? And that's kind of obvious. Because who likes to go to the gym? Like, most of us don't like to go to the gym, right? Because it isn't pleasant, it isn't entertaining, it isn't, it isn't something what brings joy on our face, right? So no wonder that Mr. John has such thought. But for him, it doesn't need to be the main reason. It doesn't need to be the main problem, because the main problem might be hidden here in his traumas. Okay? I mean, it also might be the problem, but it's not the only problem. But basing on what Mr. John said to the psychotherapist, she is going to reply with what she thinks might be the source of the problem, or the probable solution to it. And again, I know that I am generalizing here. I know that there are lots of psychotherapy schools, they are working in different way and such and such and such. I get it. And I don't want to undermine the psychotherapist in general here, because I have respect to psychotherapists. I understand that what distinguishes psychotherapists from the motivational speaker is that they actually have legitimate psychological knowledge and such and such and such. But the problem is that, the knowledge that they have, again, to generalize, is serving the purpose of finding some kind of patterns in the psyche, right? So if psychotherapist receives such signal that he have a problem to mobilize himself to do something, she is going to refer to some schemas, to some patterns that she knows from psychology in order to find not only the source of the problem but also the solution. So her way, the psychotherapist way to deal with this problem is going to have a long conversation during which she's going to ask you questions like referring to your past. So, how did your childhood look like? What was your relationship with your father, with your mother, with other members of your family? How was your school life? Did you enjoy it or was it miserable? All of that sorts. What passions you have? What kind of job you have now and how you feel in it, and such and such and such. Digging up, endlessly looking for some kind of clues. The clues that which might help that, for example, his father was kind of harsh guy, yeah? So because of that, maybe it might be the case that Mr. John didn't like discipline and that's why he didn't want to go to the gym. But this is all the maybes, because even Mr. John is not sure what is the source of his problem. So how the hell psychotherapist can tell that better to him, for him? Because it would be half of the problem if she would be actually there in his mind to analyze those things, yeah? But she isn't there. She isn't in his mind. She only relies on what John will tell her. Other problem with psychotherapy is that both of them are using consciousness to this process. They are analyzing what is going on, okay? So as we pointed out before, it is the wrong language, okay, to use to find the solution. It reminds me of the situation I'm going to refer now to my experience as a business analyst, where there are a lot of CEOs, the directors of some kind of department. Let's pick we are talking about the warehouses, right? So let's pick a warehouse director who is taking care of his warehouse, the workers there, and who takes care of keeping this warehouse efficient, right? With loading packages, unloading them, putting them in order, wherever. And this particular director has a list of reports that he receives on the monthly basis. And he always analyzes those reports, those data inside those reports, those charts, those numbers, and such and such and such. And one day he have noticed that one of the workers on his warehouse was super inefficient comparing to other people working there. So this manager came with idea that since clearly this guy is not meeting the standards, he ought to be fired. But the case, it might be not simple, because it might be the case in reality that his inefficiency is not caused by his laziness or his lack of his skills, competences and such. But it might be the case that, for example, let's say his friend is having super hard time, and because this guy is being a team player, wants to help this guy and sparing his work time to help his coworker, therefore his own efficiency suffers on that, yeah? It might be the case. There might be a lot of different reasons behind it. Things are oftenly not so simple. But if only this manager, instead of trying to judging upfront without, let's say, further analysis, without being there if he, instead of doing that, would just go there and ask the warehouse workers directly what is the source of the problem, then he will discover that it's not like this guy should be fired, but perhaps this guy might even need to get a raise for the amazing job that he's doing. Okay? And same thing goes with the psychotherapy, because we are again analyzing our subconsciousness from level of our consciousness, basing on what we think might be possible source of the problem, and basing on that we are making some decisions, some solutions and such. But again, we are not there. We are not having access to it. And here comes hypnotherapy. So we are going to part 3, hypnotherapy, because the definition, one of the definitions, as there are many of the hypnotherapy, but the definition which is one of the most widely spread is that hypnosis is bypassing the critical function. Okay? This is the power of the hypnosis. It is like we would go to this warehouse, let's draw here a doors, and simply do a knock knock, waiting for warehouse worker to open the doors. And if let's take another example, Mr. Luke would like to learn to swim, but he's super afraid of water. Didn't know why. So he came to the hypnotherapist, and while being there, they have, made this knock knock, asking his subconsciousness, and this subconsciousness, this warehouse worker, opens the door and asks, "How may I serve you?" And the Luke says, "Look, I wanted to try to learn to swim, but somehow I'm super afraid of the water. Can you give me the reason behind it? Can you show me what do you think is the main source of this problem?" Okay, we got that? And this warehouse worker looks on him and says, "Okay, sure, no problem, I will check." And he goes there to this warehouse, to our warehouse, and checks and see that, he doesn't really like it and such, because it's kind of unpleasant, like you need to sweat and such, wherever. But also he sees that Mr. Luke has some kind of traumas, and he sees that when he was young, he was playing with his friend by the lake, and while they were there, they were, for making fun out of him, and were putting his head below the water surface and such. It wasn't pleasant experience for Mr. Luke. And the other time when he was young and he tried to learn to swim with his father, his father failed to, support him well enough, and he ended up for a very little moment underwater, and he's like going through those traumas, like browsing them and such, and seeing like, those are the problems, but it's not the biggest problem, so he keeps digging, and he sees trauma number 3, which is that when Luke was 3 years old, he was walking with his parents in the sunny day by the lakeside, and while having this walk, in some moment, he slipped and fell into the water. And his parents were super terrified by this event, but fortunately there was some brave guy who have saved him from drowning. Yet little 3 years old Luke by that time had no idea what's going on. He was afraid that he's not going out from this water. Okay? So this warehouse guy sees that this is it. This is the package. So he drags her back to Mr. Luke and presents it to him. Luke takes this package, opens it, and says, "Wow! No way! This kind of thing happened to me when I was 3 years old? I'm not even aware that such things have happened when I was so young." And after the session of the hypnotherapist, when those events were neutralized, and especially this third one, Luke stopped to be afraid of water, because he knew that although his trauma was saying to him that, Luke, you want to learn to swim? What if you will drown? Now Luke knows that he's much older, he's much more fit, right? He's much more reasonable and such and such and such. So he knows that he won't drown when he's on the swimming pool learning with someone who's going to teach him to swim, right? He knows that there is no reason to be afraid of it now. So that's why he can say to this trauma that there is no need to keep warning him about such dangers. And with that way, this trauma disappears. Okay? And that is also the difference between the hypnosis and the hypnotherapy. Because hypnosis itself, it's just bypassing this critical function. But hypnotherapy is also it's also a series of therapeutical techniques, thanks to which once we get something from subconsciousness, we can work with it and either neutralize some source of the problem or to how to put this, or to implement something to our subconsciousness. Okay, so this is the power that hypnotherapy is, and this is the difference that makes hypnotherapy so faster and so much more effective than other ways. Because look, in psychotherapy, what you have to do to get there, how much you have to talk, how much and for how long you need to dig. Look, like even by this presentation, here I am talking to you for, I guess, over an hour now, explaining things, some basic things that you would need to, some of them you would need to know also in the psychotherapy. And I just barely scratched the surface, yeah? So imagine how much more you need to dig in psychotherapy and how much more you need to talk through to get to this place. All those relationships with your father, with your mother, your memories, all of those stuff. So just by now, when I am talking to you, it's like one psychotherapy session has passed and you have lost your money. I mean, not really lost, but while in the hypnotherapy, in one session, you would already got it. I mean, maybe not with the 100% success rate by the one session, but certainly after a couple of them, yeah? Because all it's required is to come here, do knock knock, ask, what's the main reason behind my problem? Bang, you got the reason. This is how it works. This is like, to the technical people, like working in IT, it is like you would be using SQL queries. Just to, make a query, give me the source of this problem. Bang, you got it. Or write a sudo command, right? Sudo, give me source of this problem, and you got it. Okay? So this is how it works. This is how it's much more efficient way. All right, I guess we covered it all as the most important things. I hope that now you understand why I had to explain all those stuff in order to show you, explain to you efficiently what is hypnosis and how it works. In order to make it actually even more clearer when it comes to how such session might be beneficial, let's make another example. Let's picture Miss Sophia. And Miss Sophia is a smoker, right? She's smoking cigarettes. She's working as a data analyst in one of the companies, one of the corporations. And Miss Sophia one day decides that she really needs to quit smoking because she and her partner really wants to, get a child, right? To make a family. And she cannot really imagine that while she's going to be pregnant, she might quit smoking because she just needs it for some reason so much. So Miss Sophia decides to go to the hypnotherapist. And while she's there, they, again, asking out her subconsciousness about the reason behind her habit. So what is happening there is that while hypnotherapist is guiding her through this process, they, again, are operating all those emotions, right? So they have habit, that there is smoking habit, and they want to understand what emotion is hiding behind this habit. And surprisingly enough, the subconsciousness gives back the information that the feeling that Miss Sophia is experiencing while smoking is curiosity. You might think it's weird, right? It's not stress, it's not some kind of sadness like anger, because lots of people are smoking when they are stressed, for example, right? They are making break in the workplace during their work so they can stop working, right? Have some free time, unwind and such, but not in this case. And you might even say that, well, curiosity is a good thing, right? It's good to be curious. So what, we are going to get rid of this? It's like, it doesn't sound like a good solution, yeah? And you are right. We don't want to get rid of this curiosity. We want to understand, firstly, what is causing that, right? So this emotion, again, has some hidden information behind it. So we are asking our subconsciousness to basically tell us, all right, you are feeling this feeling of curiosity. How did it happen? How does it link to this event, right? To this habit, right? What caused you to feel this emotion and to link this with smoking cigarettes? And it turns out that Miss Sophia, when she was a little child, she really liked to watch her favorite series about the famous detective. This detective has been super clever and handsome, and she has actually, when she was very young, she fell in love with this detective because he was so cool. And one of the traits of the detective was that each time when he has faced some kind of case that he was solving, he was reaching to this pocket for a cigarette and started smoking it. And because of that, because she liked this character so much and it inspired her so much to become the data analyst, because for her it was just like the cases that the detective has. For her mind, the mechanism of solving criminal cases by this great detective were kind of the same thing for her as analyzing the data in her work. So that's why each time when she wanted to solve some case, when she was digging in the data, she has been reaching for cigarettes in order to keep being focused on her job and to do it. And those cigarettes were helping her to do her work well. So that is why she really needed those cigarettes. So what do we do in such case? Right? Because we don't want to remove this curiosity, but we can replace it. So we can tell that from now on, Miss Sofia, each time when she's going to face such situation, she's not going to reach for the cigarette, but instead she's going to reach for a carrot, or she's going to scratch her head or her bird, wherever, right? And I understand that some of you again might look at me like that. It's like, what kind of sense does it make, right? Like eating carrot to stay focused in your job, or like scratching your head? Like, what kind of nonsense is that? Yeah? But think about it for a moment. If that sounds unreasonable to you, then how would you call the mechanism that in order to stay focused in your job, you're going to spend your money on some poison that you are going to inhale in your body, you're going to damage your body, and you're going to decrease the level of oxygen in your body and in your brain? How is that helping with staying focused? Because when you are thinking, you need oxygen in your brain, right? And actually, carrot is kind of healthy and can help you with that, like giving you some additional vitamins. So eating carrot from the logical perspective has much more sense than smoking cigarettes in order to stay focused in your job, correct? No further questions from my side. So this is what we can do with hypnotherapy. We can basically replace this habit by saying that from now you don't need to smoke, but knowing the reason, you can just reach for a carrot. And now that becomes your new habit. Simple as that. Okay? This is what kind of power hypnosis has. And this kind of mechanism can be developed in just a couple sessions. Even on the first hypnotherapy session, you can get a noticeable result for it. And that's it. All right. So having explained all of that, I hope that all this part regarding how our mind works, how we can commit those changes, why is it better than the psychotherapy in other ways, and how hypnotherapy works, I hope that is understood now. So in order to deepen our understanding of it, let's jump into the parts about the myths, bigger and smaller lies regarding hypnosis, because we will also need that part in order to use the hypnosis and benefit from it. So because there are going to be a lot of important information, so don't skip that. All right. So first myth that is oftenly occurring when it comes to the hypnosis, when people come to the hypnotherapist, is that again, people are afraid that hypnotherapist might take control over my mind and force me to do something what I don't want to do. All right, let's debunk that. It is like people think that, let me correct this drawing. It is like people would be thinking, and sometimes I hear such examples, that, here's a hypnotherapist, evil hypnotherapist who wants to take control over our minds. Yeah, hypnotherapist, and with hands reached for power of our minds. So people think that hypnotherapist is hypnosis looks in the way that, yeah, here we have this critical function, and hypnotherapist is basically coming here into this room, giving this programmer or this IT guy $100 saying, make yourself a break, I will take care of things. And this guy leaves the place, leaving this whole system unprotected, and now hypnotherapist can sit there and use this device on, as he wishes. So it's like, and now you will reach to your pocket, you will take out your wallet. From this wallet, you will take out your credit card, you will pass it to me, and you will give me your safety code along with it. And after that's happened, you will forget that such event even had a place. That's, as I said, sorry. As I said, it is, every myth has a little seed of truth, and it is a truth that we can picture it in the way that this guy comes into the room, like this hypnotherapist comes into the room and gets rid of this guy, yeah? So now this space is free, and someone can take this place to take charge of, this whole system and make some changes in it. This part is correct, but the part which is not correct, which is a lie, is that it's not the hypnotherapist that takes this place, but you are taking this place, which means that it is you who is having control over your mind, okay? That is the power of the hypnosis. You are now having this power of critical function, which is, again, to either accept or reject suggestions that comes to you. Okay? Hypnotherapist is the kind of person who brings you here. And it is up to you what you are going to do in this state. It is up to you whether you're going to accept suggestions you receive from hypnotherapist or not. Because if you hear such dumb suggestion that you will reach to your wallet, give him credit card, blah, 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 you can just open your eyes, stand up, get out, and call the police. And I recommend to do it. So there is no way in the earth that someone can manipulate you while you are in the state. In fact, it is much harder to do it, because since you are in this place, you are having more control over your mind and your internal processes than while being outside of it. Okay? So that was the first myth, and we have actually partially covered the second one, which is that sometimes people come to the hypnotherapist, like some people who wants to quit smoking or some other habit, and they say like, yeah, okay, I will go to this hypnotherapist, he will perform some magic, like hit me with some magic wand and my problems will disappear. And that won't happen. That won't happen because your cooperation here is required to make those changes. That's why I said this part is important to understand, because again, since you are the one who is occupying this place, it is up to you to accept those suggestions. It's up to you to put this work into it so those changes will pass. So you need to put some effort here, okay? Job of the hypnotherapist is to firstly let you into this place and to help you navigate here. So you will have, so he will support you by, telling what you might do in this state to get results which you want. So how to use this weird device, because like in IT, if we would like to operate some kind of system, make IT system, make there some kind of changes and such and such and such, most of us would be like, I have no idea how it works. Yeah. So you need some kind of support, you need some kind of IT guy, some kind of tech guy who is going to help you make those changes. So hypnotherapist is going to be this guy who is going to help you use the system properly, okay? And let you in here. Hypnotherapist is a person who is going to guide you through this process. But at the end, it is you who need to put this work and to accept those suggestions. And this is a very important part, because in order for hypnosis to work, there need to be fulfilled some conditions. And the first condition, in order to make hypnosis work so you can benefit from it, is that you need to, you cannot have the false image of what hypnosis is. Okay? So now you can understand again why I have written all that, why have I explained what is hypnosis, and why am I debunking those myths now. Because it is important to not, think that hypnotherapist will somehow make your problem disappear. It doesn't work that way. If you are going to expect such thing, you are not going to succeed, okay? So this is where I am talking about this false image of the hypnosis. Because once you understand that it is you who is having control and having much bigger control over yourself and your mind and such, then you will understand that you have ability to make those changes easily. And that is the point, okay? So this is the first condition. Second condition is that you cannot be afraid of hypnosis. And although it is natural that we are afraid of some things that we don't know, right? Some new things, some unexplored territory. And it is natural that you are going to experience some concerns and some, perhaps some anxiety as such and such when you are going through this process for the first time. Again, it is totally natural. However, it is not to be concerned, because the reason why am I explaining all of that is to make that more clear, so you know what to expect, right? So you know that there is no some kind of evil hypnotizer who is going to try control over your mind and rob you from your money, take your money away from you, but that he is here to help you make those changes and that he's going to guide you through it, okay? And the third, super important, is that you need to want that, okay? And here you can approach, while you are being in hypnotic state, you can approach to suggestions that you receive from the hypnotherapist in actually 4 different ways. You can say that when you receive some suggestion, that I don't like this suggestion, I don't want this suggestion, I don't want this suggestion to stick in my mind, change anything in me, I hope it won't work. Then, in such case, again, you are being here, you're having control, you're deciding what's going through or not. This suggestion will not pass. Second, approach is that I don't care if that suggestion will pass or not, if it work or not, like wherever. And this is the case of some people who are coming to the hypnotherapist because they were sent to go there. Like, for example, well, we are talking about smoking, yes? For example, let's say that a husband has came to the hypnotherapy because his wife sent him there because she don't like him smoking, because he smells bad, he is wasting money on it, and such and such and such. This guy does not want to quit, but his wife wants to, so he hopes that, well, yeah, I can try, I can go to the hypnotherapist, maybe he will magically make this happen, that I will quit smoking. Again, that won't work because it requires your cooperation. You need to want that, okay? So this suggestion will not pass in such case. Third option is that you might say, I like this suggestion. I would want that suggestion to stick with me. I hope it will work. Problem is in this word hope, because hope indicates that there is something happening out of your control, yeah? That like someone is doing something, that those things which are happening are not dependent on you, yeah? So this suggestion in such case will not pass either. So there is only one approach that will work, which you can take, which is that I like this suggestion. I want it to pass and stick with me. And I know it will work. That's it. So only with this kind of approach, knowing that, whoa, some kind of fly, knowing that, hold on, I've lost my thought. Only with this kind of approach, when knowing that when you are here, you are having full control, so it's up to you what you are going to change or not, then only with this attitude you can succeed, okay? So that's why it is super important to understand it. Okay, third myth regarding hypnosis, which occurs oftenly, is that I am afraid to go to the hypnotherapist. I am afraid to try because I am afraid that I might get stuck in hypnosis, that I might not get awake. I might fall in sleep or some kind of coma, and that's it. Yeah. And what then? As I said, there are many different definitions of hypnosis, and my personal favorite definition of hypnosis, which explains how it works in practice, is that hypnosis is basically the state of the high focus with the limited, how to put this in English, with the limited awareness of the surroundings. So, in order to put it in simple words, is the state of the high focus when you don't give a damn about all of the distractions around you. Okay? So, some people even compare, because of that, hypnosis to meditation, something like that. And it is more or less accurate, but not exactly. However, it is not like you are falling asleep. Okay? It is not like you are losing consciousness. Because if you would fall asleep or lose consciousness, how would you be able to make those decisions whether you want those suggestions to pass or not? Yeah? You cannot do that. So you are not falling asleep. And there is even this kind of joke that hypnotherapists are using for people who are asking such questions. It's like, will I be awake when I get to this hypnosis state? Then hypnotherapist says, no, you won't get awake. And the client, like, shocked, asks like, what, why, what the hell? And hypnotherapist replies that you're not going to get awake because you are not falling asleep. And since you are not sleeping in the state of hypnosis, you cannot get awake, right? So, so this is how it looks like. It doesn't look like in the way that some people picture it as, you know, it's like if you would use some kind of LSD or other narcotics. It's not this kind of thing. It's not this kind of feeling. You might feel different kind of sensations during the hypnosis, like you might feel that some parts of your body are getting warmer, colder, like this kind of sensations more or less, but you know, it's not like you are dozing off, it's not like you are getting connection with the higher spiritual being or some kind of things like this. No. All right, having that covered, the other myth that occurs oftenly when it comes to the hypnosis is that not everyone can experience hypnosis, and some people are insensitive to hypnosis. Like they cannot experience it because they don't have proper predispositions for it. It is something what was believed in the past, that only some people can experience hypnosis, but this knowledge is outdated because now, again, 21st century, we are having at our disposal such advanced techniques that it is no problem to get anyone into hypnosis. It's like everyone can experience that. We are, especially the school which I have graduated from, the Omni Hypnosis Training Center, is using the kind of lightning fast techniques which are allowing you to get into hypnosis super quickly in matter of minutes, in matter of seconds, okay, even. All right, and as I said, everyone can experience it, so there is no such thing, so don't be worried about it, don't be prejudiced. The other myth that some people, idea that some people have concern regarding hypnosis, some kind of religious people sometimes says that hypnosis is some kind of spiritual practice. It's, you know, it's occultism. It's against the religion, such and such and such. It is nonsense. Why? Firstly, because hypnosis is a pure science. Even in the times of, I already erased this name, James Esdale, right? He had scientific background, right? He wasn't some kind of, he wasn't into some kind of alternative medicine, let's say, yeah? It was a pure science. And since that time, since this 19th century, hypnosis has been researched by a lot of respected scientific institutes and medical institutes around the world. There is a ton of researches regarding efficiency of hypnosis, how it works when it, and what is its efficiency regarding, for example, making people insensitive to pain and such and such and such. You can either search it on your own, or you can find it also on my website, as some of the articles and the scientific researches that are proving that hypnosis is such, just a scientific tool. And that's the key. Hypnosis is a tool, okay? And tool is not either good or bad. Because in the same way as with hammer, you can build something, you can also hurt someone, right? In the same way as with a knife, you can cut a bread and share it with your folk. You can also hurt someone, yeah? With professional hypnotherapist, you don't have to worry about anything. So So again, it's not some kind of spiritual practice, it's not some kind of alternative medicine, kind of things like this. Okay. What else? And there was one more thing regarding the myth about the hypnosis, but I'm afraid I forgot that. So anyway, if there will be some kind of additional concerns, you can always write to me and ask me directly. I will answer for those questions. And all right, as I explained, like mostly occurring myths and that I believe are most problematic when it comes to hypnosis, and there is also some kind of hidden truth behind the hypnosis that I should tell you about, and which I said a lot of experts in the field would like to keep as a secret. And this truth is that, which might be super shocking to a lot of you, this truth is that there is no such thing as hypnosis. And I can, again, see it with my eyes of imagination, the shock on some people's faces. It's like, what the hell? You were explaining, you were talking about the hypnosis this whole time, and now you say it's not existing? And some other people might be like, haha, I knew it. Hypnosis is just a scam, and all the hypnotizers and hypnotherapists are only here to get our money and to scam us. That's also not correct. Hear me out. There is no such thing as hypnosis, because if there would be hypnosis, it would mean that someone can hypnotize you, so that someone can take control over your mind and do something for you. But there is no such thing, because it is only you who can hypnotize yourself. Okay? There is no hypnosis because there is only auto-hypnosis. Okay? Self-hypnosis. In fact, you are hypnotizing yourself many times during the day. Because remind yourself what I said before. Hypnosis, this definition of hypnosis is a high state of a high focus where all of those distractions doesn't bother you. So it's the state, for example, in which when you are riding car and you are highly focusing on which road you have to now turn to, like, or how to, skip some traffic and such. When you are reading an interesting book and you are getting thrilled by it, you are in there, in this world, then it's like, no matter what's going on around you, if someone is going to poke you, if someone is going to tell you something, you're not there. You're not in the real world because you are consumed by the word in the book. Okay? So this is this kind of thing. It's the same thing as when we were a children. We were pretending a lot of things, right? We were acting by playing different games. Like when we saw a stick on the ground, we could pretend it's the sword and we can slay a dragon with it. Or when we see some kind of doll, we could pretend that it's a baby, right? Or, for example, with a chair, table, and a blanket, we could create a pirate ship or some kind of castle and pretend that we are not in reality, but in some kind of different place. Okay? So, de facto, hypnosis is actually about pretending. Okay? I know it is shocking to a lot of people, and a lot of people, when they hear like this is pretending, yeah? So it's like, how it's work, how it can be working, right? Because you're only pretending. It can work because the difference is in scale. That's why when I said that, people compare hypnosis to meditation, it's not really accurate, because in meditation you are focusing yourself, you are muting yourself from all the distractions, you are closing your eyes and such and such and such, and you are focusing on your inner processes. There is correct, right? You can do it on yourself. You can also put headphones on your head, listen to the music, and you can just unwind, relax, and such. You can do it. But can you do it? Can you relax yourself and focus on your internal processes? Or can you pretend to the degree that you can, for example, make yourself totally insensitive to pain, like for example during surgical operation, right? So that is the difference. Hypnosis allows you to pretend such things so much. So de facto, hypnosis is nothing more than a placebo, but a damn good placebo, okay? And when you use it right, you will get the full access to potential of your mind, which is truly amazing. Because when it comes to making yourself insensitive to pain, it's not like you are unlocking some. This is super important to understand, because this is another myth here, that with hypnosis you are unlocking some kind of superpower that you never had. It is not correct. You had this power, because imagine, remind yourself, when you are being busy or when you are in haste, running somewhere, you might not feel that you got a scratch on your hand. And sometimes you have a situation that you look at your hand, leg, or wherever, and you find that you have a cut there. You are bleeding, or you have a bruise there, wherever. But you have no idea how you got that. So it's not like, your mind knows how to make you insensitive to pain. And with usage of hypnosis, all you are getting this easy access to everything what's hidden inside your mind. So hypnosis is some kind of shortcut. It's the bridge between, let's say, reality, between consciousness and this amazing world of subconsciousness with full potential that it has. All right, we will end up here. So in the end, I want to encourage you to try to use the hypnosis. I hope that you have gained some additional knowledge, even if you are not really so much interested in hypnosis. The knowledge that will help you in your life to understand better yourself, your needs, and the potential that your mind has. In the end, I would like to leave you with one particular question, because some people sometimes are either afraid of putting some effort, or some people are afraid of investing money into something that, looks weird or sounds some kind of, I don't know how to put this, some kind of weird, let's put it that way. But I would like to ask a different question. Can you really, that some people are afraid that they cannot afford such services. So I would like to ask, can you really afford to not use it? Can you afford to be this little Lily who has forsaken her dreams and her true potential, who didn't follow her dream and ended up being miserable by the end of her life, because instead of pursuing her dreams, she chosen what was socially expected from her? Ask yourself this question, and if you feel such need for changes, if you want to change your life, and if you want to live fully with potential of your mind, then I invite you to reach out to me and to try out my products and my services. So that is to it. I really wish to you that you will keep making more and more positive changes in your life. Mind your mind.